webinar.
Go with if I struggle with something.
Uh, then you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I see we have people coming in. We are live. I love it. As people stream in, I'll just say a little preamble, and say hi and welcome to everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I am Stephanie Gelman. I'm the product manager of online leads here at Royal LePage. Okay. And today we are here to talk about how you can change your approach to lead follow up. Okay. But some housekeeping before we get fully started. Okay. Um, the session's being recorded. Okay, I'm going to email you a copy of it tomorrow. What else? Please put your questions in the Q&A. No, I don't have a Q&A. I'm sorry. I'm still learning all the features. So be patient with me today. I'm going to ask you to be patient with me. It looks like we have chat. So you can put your questions in the chat. Make sure that they are to everybody, okay? Not just to the hosts and the panelists. Okay. And can I get somebody in the chat to give me a thumbs up and an affirmative that one, you can hear me, and two, you can see my slides? Because if we don't have that, then we have a problem here. Let's see. I see something. Oh, we do have a Q&A. It says chat is not open in the Q&A. Okay, cool. Well, then I guess all the talking will be done in the Q&A. Like I said, folks, I am learning how things work. But Chantel, thank you so much. Okay, I see some thumbs up. You guys get it. You have empathy. We're all here to learn. Okay, we've got it. It looks good. Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. Okay, so let's get on the roll. I want to introduce, I have this wonderful guest speaker. Okay, so I'm so thrilled to introduce my guest speaker, award-winning agent, Candace Prince. Okay, she's from Atlantic Homestead in St. John's, Newfoundland. Hi, Candace.
Hey.
So Candace's track record, it speaks for itself. So she secured President's Gold in 2022. Then she followed that by Director's Platinum Award for 2 years running and achieved national top five status. Okay. So Candace is here to help to provide some direct insight into how effective, consistent follow-up is so key to achieving the kind of top tier success that she's achieved. So yeah, once again, thank you so much, Candace. I know you're busy. You have so much to do, and it's really great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get to our goal. Today, our goal is really simple. We are here to show you how to multiply your follow-up speed, ensure perfect consistency, and increase your close rate, all while cutting down the amount of time you spend on manual early stage nurturing because that stuff is boring and nobody wants to do it. Candace.
So pretty much this is for anybody who's sick of the lead grind, whether you're just figuring out your email signature or you're a tech savvy, it's going to break it down and it's going to show you how to use it and why it's beneficial to use it.
Absolutely.
So this one, so there's a reason why the lead to close average is sitting at 1%. It's because our leads, we're not giving them what they need out of us. In my first year of real estate, I closed almost 4% of my leads, and it was a massive difference when I had a system put in place that helped me achieve that. If I didn't have it, I don't think that I would have achieved that.
Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is the system and the system's really the smart campaigns, right?
Mhm.
That's the big key is, well, the average human agent takes over 15 hours to reply to a new lead. Okay, guys, but yet we know that the optimal time to respond to them is 5 minutes or less. Okay. We know you are so much more likely to connect with somebody, okay, when you respond in 5 minutes, even versus 30 minutes. And that's because people are ridiculously impatient. They don't get
So
a
true.
response from you, right? They're just going to go to another form and another until they've been satisfied. Candace, like from a consumer's point of view, Do you agree with, the need for speed?
I do. Um, you know, if you have a lead and if you don't respond to them right away, there's a good probability that they're going to move on to the next person. We have leads coming in all the time. And if you're the quickest to respond and the most helpful with information and, to satisfy that need with whatever that person has at that moment, most likely you are going to have a better connection with them.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that even when they don't want to answer you, they still need speed. And then the problem is a lot of time they don't answer you. They don't answer us, right? So there needs to be more touches to be successful. Sometimes 5, 10 more outreach attempts, before that person, that lead is ready to respond. Now, Candace, what do you think about that? Like when you hear people recommend, 5, 10, sometimes more attempts to reach out to a person. Do you ever worry like that you're just going to be annoying to people, that that's too much?
I think timing is, you have to be pretty spot on with your timing. You don't want to be overbearing, but at the same time, you kind of want to Martha Stewart it. So, she's a household name. And when anybody thinks of real estate, you actually want to be Martha Stewart of real estate. You want people to think when they read about it, talk about it, hear other people talking about it, you want your name to be the first thing that people talk about or share. So I think that the amount of times you touch them, I think it's actually really important.
Absolutely. And the challenge, so we talked about the challenge of being fast, and then we have this challenge of being like consistent, right? So we have a problem. We're humans. We have lives. We have things to do. Yeah, if we want to do well with leads, well, they need speed and they need consistent outreach. And when we try to do that on our own, we end up leaving people feeling neglected, or we're just too exhausted. Um, you know, I know that with you, you use the automated campaigns, right? Can you talk about some of the time that you've been able to free up, and what other things you do with your time instead of reaching out to leads?
The biggest thing for me was automating it because when I first started, it was, you do your task, you do your things. But if you have this automated, it helps free up your time that you can do an open house or you can attend training or, you can be a sidekick to somebody that's been in the industry for longer than you have. And it just frees up more of your time to learn different parts of this job. It's not all about lead generation, but it's a massive part of it. So when you have these things in place and they're automated, it allows you to do other things while that's working.
Yeah, I mean, like you're probably nurturing leads right now as we are doing this presentation, and they're getting messages from Candace, the real estate agent. They don't know that so I think that's one really important thing for all of us to remember is that we have all these technologies here, and really they're here to make our lives easier. They're here to do the stuff that we don't have the time and energy or just the desire to do. And with the smart campaigns, it's really cool. It's like you have this 24/7 perfectly scripted follow-up expert, and they never get tired. They don't have anything else to do. They never forget a step. And they do
Mhm.
everything exactly according to a perfect plan. That's really like the goal, the key of automation. Um, do you have any stories about leads that you know that were closed because of, a consistent multi-touch follow-up that like a normal human would have just never been able to do?
I can't think of one personally, but I do remember a story. So when I first started here, I had a mentor and we were all in the Smart Leads program and she taught me the importance of this. So for me, it was she had a lead that she had been consistent with her Smart Lead campaign. It was 2 years later that she closed that lead, and it was all because of her program was continuously working in the background. It'd be really hard to follow up with somebody consistently for 2 years before you'd get tired and not want to do it anymore. But she relied on her system and she did. She closed it after she had the lead. It was probably one of the longest nurturing in our office.
That's amazing, and that really does show some amazing persistence. So, some of the things that you told me, and I think you're forgetting some of the positive feedback that you've received from people because you've had people even comment to you like that they admire your prudence and how much you continue to reach out to them and obviously you're
Yeah.
not going to tell them that you have a little secret in your back pocket that you use to
Oh,
say so in touch.
I get that comment a lot though, and it's not me, it's my system doing it. And I mean, I just heavily rely on that, but it's awesome if people think it's me, that's great, and I'll take it.
Exactly. I'm okay with that too because that's what we need to do with people. Okay, so I love it. I have a friend, John, and he told me a story a few months ago, and it was, it was about a lead he kind of forgot existed. And I never recommend that you forget about people in your database, but life happens sometimes, especially if they're unresponsive. Um, but he has all his leads, getting these campaigns right off the bat. So they're receiving messages. And then at like the 4.5 month mark, all of a sudden this person responds. They're ready because that whole time they've been getting their finances in order. They weren't ready to interact yet. But if he hadn't been sending them pieces of value and staying in touch, it- he would not have been the Martha Stewart of real estate in their mind. Amazing. Okay. So for those of you who maybe don't even know what a smart campaign is and you're thinking, what the heck are these people talking about? Simply put, in RLP sphere, okay, a smart campaign is a sequence of automated, mostly pre-written communications, okay, emails and texts, but some of campaigns will even include tasks for you to do. Okay. So it's a sequence of things. And the goal of these things is to nurture, at least the smart campaigns for new leads. The goal of them is to nurture a cold lead until they're warm enough for a personal conversation with you, right? And literally setting these up is a click and connect process. We've done all the work for you. We created some pre-written content. We've set all the timing. Literally, all you have to do is turn them on, okay? And kind of like this is the whole process in very three very simple steps. Uh, we don't make it complicated. So you get a lead, and that triggers the plan to start. Things happen, right? There's emails, there's texts, there's tasks for you to do, and the goal is to get a reply. When leads reply to the campaigns for new online leads, the campaign goes away, the messages stop, and then, well, what do you do then, Candace, when somebody replies, and what's the next step?
I mean, that's the whole goal of this is when you set these campaigns up is to get a response out of somebody. And once you've gotten that, and then this campaign turns off and they become an active lead, you have a personal engagement with them. So once you're at that point, you've already become that trusted go-to. So it's getting you there. Sometimes you can't get everybody there, so the system helps get you there. But when it turns off, there are other things that are in place, like a weekly buyer check-in campaign that's set for yourself to remember to check in with these people. And it's super helpful because when you have hundreds of leads, you're never going to remember this. It's such a colossal task that you will never be successful if you just think that you're going to remember everybody.
Absolutely. I don't care how smart any of us are. There's too many things to stay on top of to not use a system.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so here's an example of the first message that goes out to a smart campaign or to a new online lead who's getting a smart campaign for buyers. Okay, so hi Stephanie, thanks for your inquiry on the Royal LePage website. I need to confirm some details to make sure you get the right information. Do you prefer email, text, or a phone call? I'll be in touch shortly, whatever your name is and your brokerage. Um, this is a great message, and it looks incredibly professional, and it prevents your lead from running off to another site and filling out another form because they are impatient. Um, Candace, as an actual agent in the world, what kind of responses have you received from this message in particular?
This one works. And the reason why is because if you can respond to your client or your potential lead within the first minute or 2 minutes or even 3 minutes, it stops them, like you said, from moving on. And it just makes that connection a lot quicker. So it opens up the door for a conversation right away. I mean, you might be in the middle of showing a house, and this is the first text that goes out. So it kind of puts your stamp on them for a minute until you can get the time to go back and respond to them. So they have a lot of agents that, they reach out, they text, and there's no response out of them. So you don't want to be one of them. And this helps you not be one of them. It's going to respond for you.
Yeah, I mean, like we said at the start, right? Half of all inquiries don't even get a response, and then the ones that do reply takes them 15 hours. So when you use one of these automated ones and the message goes out within minutes, you're blowing people away. Um,
So a story for this one. I remember before I was an agent, I was looking at a house and I looked it up online. And anyway, I had asked a question about the house. The response was so quick, and I couldn't understand how the person received it and was just like so responsive. And I was really blown away by it. And that was before I was an agent. So then I started here at Atlantic Homestead, and I became part of the Smart Leads program, which we use these campaigns. And I remember I was like, oh, that's how. So I remember the agent was Jill. She works in our office. And I was so impressed with how quickly she got back to me. But then when I got into the office, I realized it was because she was relying on her system. And as soon as I asked the question was answered right away. It was pretty cool.
Amazing. I think that's really actually cool that you got to experience it from the consumer side. And, I
And I had
know,
no idea. No
yeah,
idea.
no, who would, right? Nobody knows because it has the agent's signature at the end. Right. So it always looks like it's coming from Stephanie or Candace or whoever it is that is the agent. Yeah, it's neat because when you're the client and you get that level of responsiveness, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel special, right? Like, wow, all right. And you must be in good hands. Okay. Um, well, I talked before, right? But the two things that we got to do to close more leads, we need to be fast and then we need to be persistent because, we obviously want people to respond and it's great. A lot of people respond to that first message. But, let's be honest, the vast majority will not. And that's when we have the persistence that we need a hand with. So the campaign sends out messages, but it's always personalized. It always has your name at the end, okay, to make it look like it comes from you. Um, Now, Candace, sometimes when I do sessions like this, I get agents say to me that, well, I don't want to use things that someone else wrote because it sounds robotic and not relational, or it's not in my voice. What would you say to people who feel that way?
So I would have agreed with that statement when I first started too. And it was because I was afraid to put myself out there and I was worried about how other people would perceive me. And I didn't take into account that all these people are strangers to you. They don't know who Stephanie is or Candace is or who anybody is. So really that part to me, I got over it very quickly because, they're written really well. They're professional. They're signed off on your name. And the whole goal is to get that personal connection with them. And at that point, these things turn off. So if they don't sound like you have the opportunity to meet this person, connect with them, and, put your own flair on things because your campaign is going to be turned off once you get that connection with them, once they respond to any of these, whether it's an email or a text message. So in the beginning, yes, I would have agreed. Now, no.
Well, and I think that's great that you understand why some folks would resist, right? Because you see their point of view, but when you look at it logically, it's not really valid in a sense. Also, I want to point out to people that every single message in the campaigns has been researched and every sentence has been optimized to encourage responses. So while you may say, well, that's not how I talk, okay, the point of all of these messages is to elicit a response, right? And they really are optimized to do that.
That's right.
Okay. Um, and look at that. I was just saying that. It's like I knew what was coming. So they're all optimized because they all have like a call to action or a question, right? That encourages engagement. I'll give an example. I see a lot of leads that come in. Well, this isn't an automated thing, but this is just what people do. I see a lot of leads that come in and they just ask, what are the taxes? And so many agents will make the mistake where they just write back, taxes are 5,000 a year, period. End of story. That's not engaging. You say taxes are $5,000 a year. Does this fit your budget? May I show you other places in similar range, et cetera, et cetera. So just like that, every single piece that we've placed into our campaigns, they either end in a question or a call to action. Okay. Um, Candace, out of the campaigns, what pieces do you think are kind of the best ones that kind of spark the most engagement in your experience?
Well, there's so many of them. I made notes on some of them because
Good.
a lot of them are very valuable and they do spark conversations. The initial text message that goes out, I find that's really helpful. It asks the right questions. It kind of leaves that open door for a response. So it's not like, hi, welcome to the program. I can do this, I can do that, I can set this up for you. It's more, engaging with them, asking them what did they require out of it. It's more personalized that way. The follow-up emails are exactly the same. After so many days, you're going to be sending out a message that says your search alerts have been set up. Are they what you've been looking for? Do you need any adjustments made on them? So that open-ended question helps with a response. Once you get to so far in the campaign too, it'll suggest that you turn off your listing alerts for this lead. When that happens, I like to go and it's going to send an email, but I also like to send a text message to say, hey, listen, this is about to be turned off. I just wanted to make sure that, that's okay with you, or would you like them to continue? And that usually there triggers a response just because the fear of missing out on something and they've become so used to getting them every day. So it's the way it's set up, it's really good to keep them engaging with you. And, every 5 days, 4 days, it'll keep that happening. Then after, I think it's 14 or 16 days, it starts to educate them on finances and to try to draw some more information out of them. Like, what is it you need out of a home and what is it you're looking for? What is your wants? Have you been pre-approved? And they all end with call to actions on it. So if the person's thinking about something, such as a mortgage broker, you have the opportunity to connect them with somebody that you use. So there's a lot of really good triggers to get responses out of people out there.
Amazing. Okay, so let's kind of take another step back, right? To give us just like another um visuals, right, of how it goes, right? So person comes to our website, sees a house for sale as an example, they fill out a form. You receive a lead, you accept it, it becomes a contact in your rlpSPHERE CRM, and it triggers the campaign to start. Okay, now this is the slide that's really important. Okay, now you guys can see this, right? Because this one is the one that you want to see. This is the one that kind of outlines all the different touches over the course of 6 months that's in a typical smart campaign for online leads. Um, so it starts with daily touches, then every other day, then once a week, then every 20 days, and it kind of spaces out, contains a mix of short messages and longer informative emails. Okay. And what's really important for you to know out of this is that the whole 6 months, the highlighted items are the things for you, the human, to do. Everything else is done by the system. Um,
Yep.
Candace, what do you think about the sequence of touches and what are your thoughts?
I love it. As you can see, I mean, what do you have there? One, two, three, four, five tasks to do in 6 months. And that's if a lead never responds to you. You have five tasks, but your system is going to continue to engage with this person to hopefully get a response out of them. I think it's perfectly timed. It's not too overwhelming. And, the first part, maybe the first 2 weeks is a little more aggressive to try to get them to engage with you. But after that, it kind of trickles out into educational, which a lot of people in our industry, I mean, we're on the other side of the fence where we're very educated about buying and selling houses. But for most people, this could be their first house and they don't really know what they're doing. So they don't really know the steps. So I find the latter part of the campaign is really good to educate people too, to make them feel comfortable with the industry and the process of it too.
Exactly. So, what Candace is talking about is on starting day 14. Okay, so from day 14 until 44, you can see there's some pieces called the buyer marketing campaign, and these are like these beautifully templated ones that educate folks about things like how to navigate applying for a mortgage or how to navigate showings and things like that. Those are just lovely. Now, how do you stay on top of the tasks? How do you know what to do?
So every day, every morning, I log into my system, my CRM. It will remind you of the things that you need to do. So everything that's highlighted there in yellow comes in as a task reminder. Now you can set more tasks if you like, but it will remind you what to do and when to do it. So you don't have to keep your finger on every single lead. This system is going to do that for you. And it's also going to remind you to do the tasks that you need to do too. So it's on your dashboard. Every day you just go in and log in and everything's logged out there for you. And it'll tell you task by task what you should do, whether it's a text or an email, or if it's setting up a search alert. It's pretty cool.
Amazing. Okay, so we want to go in our dashboard once a day at least, see what are the daily tasks that are associated with the contacts. Now, I see an important question here that I just want to address. Has everything been translated to French? Yes, Chantal, all the campaigns are available en français aussi. Okay, so later in the session, I'll show you guys where you can find a list of all the campaigns that I recommend that you use and everything that is applicable for Quebec. Some things are just, they just don't happen in Quebec because you have different regulations than the rest of the province. But yeah, we've made campaigns for all your designated listing leads in Quebec and all kinds of stuff. So oui, tout en français aussi. And what's really neat is when I mentioned before, we have start triggers, right? So let me go back a slide, right? So there's a trigger. Basically, the trigger is the lead coming in. The system will actually know if your lead is coming from French Royal LePage or English Royal LePage. And if you have French campaigns activated, they can receive the French campaigns automatically. So that's really cool. Okay. So yeah, we have all kinds of stuff. Okay. So where do you find these things? I was just saying, I'm going to tell you where you can find them. So you can go into your sphere, right? From the RLP network. You can go in from the app, but if you're going on your computer, you go from the RLP network. You can access Sphere from pretty much anywhere, right? It's right there on the dashboard. It's also under a marketing tab. Okay. And then you just, once you're in there, right, you want to go under the marketing tab in Sphere and click on Smart Campaigns, or you can just do in that little search thing because there's a little search bar, and you can click in there and find them. Okay. And then when you click on there, this is not a complete list. Okay, folks, I will tell you this is not a complete list. I'm going to email the complete list for you, or if you really can't wait until I send it to you, you see right here at the bottom of this slide, it's a little paper trail where you can find it on the RLP network. Go to the marketing tab, Smart Leads under Agent Resources. You will see a Google Doc. It is named rlpSPHERE Smart Campaign for Online Leads. This contains all the campaigns that we've created for almost any kind of lead you can get, all the kinds that you can get from Royal LePage website. And then we even created some that you can apply to property boost leads. That's a thing that you can do in Sphere to do some ads for your listings. Um, Candace, what do you think about the multitude of campaigns that we've made for you guys?
It's really good because if you look at them, you have, so they're just abbreviations there, but they're distributed and designated. So they're different types of showings, they're different types of leads. So there should be different types of communication with them. When the lead comes in, you've already figured out what type, the system has figured out what type of lead it is based on a routing rule. And then the campaign is triggered based on what type of lead it is. So when you have a online, say, buyer lead, seller lead, the communication is different than if you have a distributed showing. So the seller might come in and say they want to list their house. So communication should be different. Whereas a distributed showing, they specifically tell you what they want and when they want it, or information on a property. So this way, it's really tailored to the type of lead that's coming in. So no matter what way it comes in, whether it's distributed, designated, or a seller, these things trigger based on what type of lead that is anyway.
And we've done all the configuration for folks. So, you guys don't have to try to figure out now, what do I mean by configuration? Let me show you this wild slide here. So when you go into the sphere, right, and let's say you say to yourself, well, I want to see the campaign that Roy LePage made for seller leads, new online seller leads. Well, you can type the name into the little search bar, and you're going to see all these different columns. And I want to just go over what these different columns are, right? So you can have a bit of an understanding if you haven't been in there. So obviously we first have the name, that's easy. Description, easy enough. The target audience, well, the seller campaigns for sellers, that's easy, no big deal. This part here, the starts when, this is a key. Okay, this is so crucial. This is the starts trigger. Okay, this is what tells the system that this campaign specifically will go on people who do not include a phone number, okay? But because the phone number is not a mandatory field. So the lead phone number is empty, but the email is not empty. The source is distributed home valuation, and there's still a new lead. And when someone enters the system and those, all of those criteria fit, then they get this campaign.
A
Okay,
good
yeah.
question for you, because I know this was one of the things that I kind of struggled with in the beginning too. Why is there email only and then email and text? That might be a good thing to explain to them too.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you guys will notice that let me jump back a slide for a sec. So for example, we have seller email only, seller email and text, right? And we've done this so that we can maximize the number of touches possible. The one where somebody includes a phone number, they will receive a blend of emails and text messages. The one where no, they don't include a phone number like this one, they only receive emails. Now, it could be possible to just send the email and text campaign to anybody, even if they don't have a phone number in. But we decided that that wasn't good enough because they would be missing out on all those communications. So we essentially replaced any text message with an email and applied that to people who don't want to share their phone number just yet. Does that make sense? I know that was a long explanation.
No, it totally makes sense. It was one that a lot of us struggled with, but you're
Yeah.
right though. If it's two different sources to touch somebody, then yes, it should be set up on that rather than just the email. So it makes
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, it's easier, let's be honest, it would be easier just to make one and say, hey, that just goes on everybody. But we much prefer to be thorough and make sure that they're all covered in all the possible touches. Okay. Um, so that's the start trigger. Now, when you go in your sphere and you start looking around at campaigns, you'll actually notice that some have nothing under the starts when. Okay, it doesn't mean that they're broken or that there's anything wrong with it, but it means that those are ones that do not automatically apply to anybody. Those are ones that you use and you manually assign to people based on your intent and based on what they're created. Okay, so just when you're in the system and you're poking around, you see that, just remind yourself of that. Okay. After that, you're going to see what they call channels. And basically, that's the kind of actions, right? What is happening in there? So there's emails, there's texts, there's status updates. Okay. There's tasks. Then how many touches? Okay. So this one has 24 touches. Um, always run, okay, is one of these ones where for the vast majority of time, you want to say no, because when you have it set to yes, that means that this campaign will always be assigned to people who match the criteria, even if they have criteria that would better be served by a different campaign. Okay, so usually what we say is, and everything that I've created, our Royal page has created for your use, it's not always run, okay? Because the system's smart enough to pick the right one. And if Candace comes in to my system maybe twice, two different kinds of lead sources, well, we only want her to get one campaign. We don't want her getting bombarded by messages, right? Okay. And then lastly, to enable or disable, there's this button right at the end. Okay. So red means on. Okay. Gray is off. And when you click on a campaign, hang on, let me bring it back. Okay. So from here, if you click on the name of the campaign, that's when you can look at the deeper contents. Okay. Because right now we just see the overview. So um, we click on it and now we can hone in. Okay, so you can see the details. You can see first time, when the message goes out, what kind of message is it, an email, um, the name of it. Okay, the name is the name of the piece, the template from which it is built. Because um, how would you describe templates, Candace? What do you?
This is funny. So I teach this in our brokerage now, and
Mhm.
everybody gets tripped up by the word campaign and template. So
Okay,
I always say to them, and it just kind of dumbs it down a little bit. Not dumbs it down, but takes the technical part out of it. So think of
I
your
need it
campaign as
dumbed
a
down. Don't worry,
binder.
I need that.
Think of a campaign as your binder. And all your templates are the pages you're going to put in that binder. And that's what you want to give to your potential lead. So it's, the sequence that it's organized in your binder, but your binder is your campaign. And then your templates are what you put into your binder.
I
So
like
how it
that.
comes in. So a lot of the agents in our office, they struggled with it because it was intimidating for them, campaigns and templates and creating and all this stuff. Excuse me. And when I took it to a simplified version of it and broke it down to like binders and pages, it just clicked. Everybody just got it right away.
Yeah, amazing. Um, I love that analogy. Okay. Um, they're the papers in my binder. I love it. See, I would sometimes think of templates as like bricks or building blocks. But yours is much better because when you start pulling the bricks out, things fall apart. But with yours is great because you can shuffle them, you can move them. Um, now you don't need to because ours are great. You don't need to move things around, but cool. Okay, so I love there's some good engagement going on in the Q&A. I'm just going to take a moment to, thanks folks for giving me some pointers. Like I said, I'm new to this Zoom. I'm not doing the best. So some folks have said, "Hey, can you display it this way or do that?" And yeah, thank you for pointing out things to maximize stuff. So I love it. You guys are great. Okay, so let's say we're in the system. Okay, we found a campaign that we were interested in. We're thinking of turning it on, but I'm just curious. I want to know the details. I want to preview the content. So I clicked on it. Now I can click this button that says view. Okay. And this is where I can see the specifics, right? So I can see, and I know the writing's kind of small, so it might be tough to see here, but that's okay. What matters is that you're going to go in the system and see it your first, but I'll read it for you here. So the first message, like Candace said, she was like, oh, well, the seller campaign's different than the buyer one. right? So earlier we gave you an example of what the first message for a buyer is. Now, the seller one. So, hi, lead first name. I see you received a property value estimate from the Royal LePage website. I will work on a more accurate estimate than the automated one you just received. I just need to confirm some details. Quick question. Do you think the home value was high, low, or about what you were expecting? I love that message. It buys me time, right? Which is
Mhm.
cool because I need more time to figure things out. I might need to wrap up my training session, right? And then, but it also engages them, asks them a question, right? Um,
Anatomy of that too. The where you see lead first name, those merge tags, those will input your client's name or the potential seller's name in there too. So it really personalizes it, and you don't have to do that either.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm happy you pointed that out because yeah, you're right. Some people might see this and go, whoa. But yeah, it inserts their name and then it inserts like my name as the sender. And they don't know that I didn't send it. It looks like it came from me, which is really cool.
Yep.
Um, okay. So yeah, so you can go through, you can preview the content. Okay, all the way till the very, very end of the campaign, right? Um, all the way to the end. You can preview all the content. Okay. Now, those are for leads that are new. These are for people who haven't responded that you haven't transacted with, right? But then we have stuff that you can use to stay in touch with people, right? So people that you have transacted with, or maybe just people that you want to remind them, you want to Martha Stewart them, right? Let them know. I want to let all my neighbors and my cousins and everyone know that I'm the real estate expert with whom they would like to transact. Um, and basically, we have these three different ones. And really, the way I think of them is how frequent I want the person to receive an email. So the homeowner goes out quarterly, and that one has like seasonal home tips, right?
Yep.
Then the client for life has a blend of that one's once a month. So that one includes the homeowner, but then the months in which the homeowner doesn't go out, there's other good content, content. And then we have this new one that came out this year that's the market trends campaign. And that would be for people on your contact book that are like into following up with the trends and maybe, less about home maintenance. Okay. Candace, what have you seen people using there?
I would
Like,
say so. We encourage people to turn on the client for life, especially if you've sold them a house. And I'd say right now, probably in our brokerage, we have over 70 agents here, and I'd say probably about 80% of them use this. And I mean, it's just a great tool that, you don't want to be bombarding people after the fact once you've closed the house, but you do want to stay in contact. So this is a nice little kind of touch every now and then just to, keep you top of mind for that person that you've already sold a house for. So a lot of our agents use this campaign.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
absolutely. I see some questions. I'll get to those ones in a bit. Don't worry, folks. I see you. I will get to you. I promise. Okay. So, one thing I want everyone, when you leave here, because we're getting close to the wrap up time. So, more like any questions that you have, start throwing them in the Q&A because we're gonna get to really diving into that in a sec. I just want everyone to remember that leveraging automation to achieve consistency is the fastest way to increase your success without adding more hours to your day. Okay. And that's something that's so important to remember. Um, can you tell us a bit about the time saving that you realized when you like really committed to using smart campaigns? And like, what did you do with all that newly found time?
This this was a little bit when I first started, I was put into Smart Leads, and Smart Leads kind of kickstarted my career. So that's how I was introduced to smart campaigns. I found it was really helpful. It freed up so much time that I could learn new things and I could participate in things like, the Builders Association it allowed me time to start working with a builder, and it freed up so much time for learning aspects of this. I mean, this industry changes daily, and every day, as our owner says here, every day is a school day. And that, I mean, it's so true. Since I've been able to take my system and kind of automate and it's worked so well for me that, I mean, I have less than 4 years in the industry, and I'm now the sales and lead manager for our brokerage. And in our brokerage, we do have some older agents that, that technology is probably not their strongest suit. They're more of old fashioned sales. And it's really cool to see them actually start putting these things in place and, utilizing them, and it's working. So it's a tool to them that probably wasn't familiar or, in their comfort zone, but it's so easy. It's so user friendly that no matter what level you're at, it's helpful for everybody. And I mean, I have one agent in the office that I kind of stuck to since I began, and he gave me a piece of advice, and it was, when you're busy, do the work. When you're slow, do the work. And when you're having the best year of your life, still do the work. And I feel like this program allows me to do that, and it allows me to be successful at it too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sums it up wonderfully because if you were trying to do all those touches, what did I say? There was 24 in the typical campaign. Like when would you have time for life and training? And
No. So if you take 24, that's for one lead. And
that's
you
true. That's
think
only
of
one.
leads a year you get. I mean, you would spend your life doing this. And if there's a tool out there that's going to make real estate hard, we all know this is a hard industry to be in. It's very time consuming, demanding mentally and physically. So if there's something out there that can make this a little bit easier for you, I'm all in. Sign me up.
That, you know what? I hear you. Absolutely. Um, okay, perfect. So I see some good questions in the
Sure.
Q&A now. So let me just start getting to those and for you folks here, if you think of anything else that you want to ask, just throw it in the chat. I'm going to go from the start, or not the chat, in the Q&A. I'm sorry. Okay, so we talked about, do we have campaigns in French? Yeah, we do. We have everything en français. Ils sont tout là. And if you, like I said before, they even will apply to your French leads. If you get somebody from French Royal LePage and you have French campaign turned on, that will work. So it's really cool. We have a question about, can we dump our leads from other sources into this machine? You absolutely can. So there's ways where, if let's say you have like a file with a list of contacts, you can upload that into the rlpSPHERE. You can also have new leads integrated into the rlpSPHERE. There's different ways to do it. There's a thing, oh, what's that area called? Lead engine in the Sphere. Right. And then you can have, you go in there and you find your email. I think it's called a forwarding email. Do you remember,
The
Candace? Uh,
endpoint for every
Endpoint.
agent.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. An endpoint. It's like a fancy email address. And basically, if you have leads from another source, you tell that other source, well, send my leads to this email address, and then they'll go in your sphere.
That's right. And then you can create triggers for that campaign to start based on that lead.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, we have a question about, is there a campaign to try to revive a very old lead? It's still in the system and it went through the original campaign a year or two ago. Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Is My response to that would be to put yourself on an active weekly buyer check-in. That campaign will remind you to check in with that agent. And not necessarily you're going to have something every week to provide to that agent, but I know in our brokerage we do market reports monthly. So it's a micro market for St. John's Metro. So what we do is we provide it to all of our agents, and that's a touch point that you can send out to them if you remind yourself weekly, like, what can I give this person of value this week? So that, and just really reach out and ask them if they've purchased a house or if they're still in the market. There's many ways to do it. And there's a really cool feature when you go into the lead and you hit text message or email. If you hit AI assistance, you can actually type in there, this is an old lead who has gone through a campaign, has not made contact with me, give me an idea for a touch point for them. And you can use it on Gemini, which is tagged into this program, and it will come up with a piece of content for you.
Amazing. Wow, that's some really neat advice. Cool. Okay. There is a comment about seeing dated campaigns in their My Campaign area. How do I delete them? You know, Ron, unfortunately, I don't think you can delete them. I think you're just going to have to ignore the old stuff, unfortunately. I know it's annoying if things are taking up valuable space on the screen, but I'm pretty sure if they were deletable, they would have been gone. Um, okay, let's see. Okay, so we talked about bringing leads into. Um, Okay, show me the process. Lead to receive the campaign. So yeah, really, essentially, you don't have to do much, right? We just go in the sphere, we turn on the campaign, you get a lead, and they start getting the message. It's that simple. There's nothing else to do, which is so cool. Um, that's what's really neat about it. Okay, somebody is asking, is it possible to change the first auto text which goes to the lead? Candace, what are your thoughts about changing the messages?
In the beginning, I really, really wanted to do this. And not to say that in the future, maybe I wouldn't do that, when the market changes and things like that. Our market's a little bit different here in St. John's than it is in most metro cities across Canada. You can clone them and change them, but the amount of time and effort that you would put into doing all those, it's a big task. So if you don't have to, I would say don't. I mean, they work the way that they are. And I mean, if it's something you're in a crazy market, which is completely different, then maybe, but for the most part, I'd leave them alone.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I can sort of understand somebody just feeling the urge to get in there and do their own thing, because I'm like that. I'm someone that likes to put my own touch on things. I'll admit it. But sometimes you just have to say, well, like, what am I hoping to accomplish here? And the first message is so it's kind of perfect, right? It's just, hi, Candace, thanks for your inquiry on the Royal LePage website. I'll be with you in a few minutes. Do you prefer text, email, or phone call? Sincerely, Stephanie, the agent. Why would we want to change that? That is a great message. Um, and I don't know if you guys caught in Candace, she was saying, well, you could clone it. Okay. So you will notice when you go into the Sphere CRM and you look at any of the campaigns that Royal LePage has made for you, you may view the content, but you are not able to edit it. So if you really, really need to, if you really feel the urge, you will need to clone and then edit the clone and go on from there, right? So like she said, it's a lot of work. We made a good 30 or so campaigns for you guys to save you the time and effort, right? Um, so, you know, kind of as we're getting close to the wrap up time, I want to talk about what your next steps are, right? And look at this. I even wrote in here, you don't need to edit anything. The plans are optimized. So, what you really want to do after this session, go into Sphere, okay? Activate the smart campaigns, okay? And I'm going to email everybody even before I send you the recording because it'll take me a bit, I'll admit. It'll take me a bit to process the recording. So that'll be tomorrow that I send it to you. But I promise you, as soon as we wrap up this session, I'm going to email every single one of you the cheat sheet, my RLP smart campaigns for new online leads list. Okay. Because I want, while it's still fresh in your head, while you're still excited about it, I want you to jump into the sphere. I want you to activate those campaigns. You don't need to edit anything. Don't just leave it alone. It works well. And then do some training, right? If you don't know anything about Sphere, or if you just know a little bit, but you feel like you need a refresher, the Launchpad is a great training. Okay, this is hosted by our Learning Services Department, and they host it on a regular basis. These are live webinars where they go really deep into different aspects of the Sphere system, right? And you can attend like all the sessions, or you can just pick the ones that appeal to you. But that's where you really want to go. okay, to get really educated. As we wrap up, okay, I just want to share our contact info, right? So if you feel like you need to reach out to Candace, maybe, there was a question that you had that you weren't able to ask today. You can reach out to her. If you want to reach out to me, you can get in touch with me as well if you have questions about smart leads, about the campaigns that we've created. Um, yeah, thank you so much, Candace. You've been such a great guest. I learned so much every time I talk to you.
I mean, if anybody here, though, they have questions outside of this, that's my contact information, and I'd be more than happy to help anybody. I teach it in my brokerage now, and it's not as crazy and complicated as it may seem when you first look at the system. It's a lot to learn, it's a lot to take on, but when you break it down, bite-sized pieces, it's actually it's a wonderful tool to use.
I agree. Like, I am not a super techie person. I can just kind of, get by on the best day with techie stuff. Yeah, I have been able to understand the campaigns, and if I can do it, you can do it too, folks. I promise. I promise. If I can do it, so can you. Okay, super. So I will
Awesome.
send out that document to everybody in like the next 5 minutes. And then tomorrow I will send you the recording. Thank you for being a really good audience. You guys have been great. You asked a lot of good questions, and I really do appreciate your patience with me and my screen sharing capabilities. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.